Okay, in order to send our setup dialog box the information from our MyDataObject class, we need to know how to access that. When your module is created, there's a member on the module called ModuleData, and we use this object to access that data. Now, there's two ways to do it. You can either override the ModuleData method, or you can explicitly cast the property of the data object to whatever variable you created. I'm sure that didn't make any sense, so let's run through them real quick. Now, if you don't override the ModuleData member, what you would have to do, for example, let's say we were going after the baud rate information that we have saved. What you would have to do is you would declare a variable, let's just call it baud for now, and we would set that to, we would have to cast it to the class name that we used, MyDataObject, and we are casting the ModuleData member, and we want, you put a period there and it should come up saying baud rate. Now what that will do is that will copy the ModuleData baud rate, which by default we have set at 9600, and copy that into the underscore baud variable, and we can use that in our program here. Now the problem I see with this method is every time you wanted to access something you would have to cast it. There is an easier way, I believe it's an easier way, and that's by overwriting the ModuleData member. Now what we need in order to do that is we need an object of the type of our MyDataObject created. So let's create a global object in the beginning. Just give ourselves a little room. Let's call this public MyDataObject, and let's call this object MyData. Okay, now this is global, and this can be used anywhere in our class. But the problem right now is information is not going back and forth to Vixen. So whatever we put into MyData, it will not get saved into the ModuleData member. So what we need to do is just override that ModuleData member, ModuleData. Okay, and in the get, what we need to do is we just want to return the object we created, MyData, and in the set, we just want our object to be set as the value that's sent, and that needs to be saved as a MyDataObject. Now, so what this basically does is when it starts up, when the module starts up, Vixen is going to basically send the data, or the ModuleData object, and it's going to save it in MyData, and when it needs to save back to the ModuleData, it will take our MyData object and save it. In other words, any changes that we make to our MyData object here will be saved within Vixen, and it will do all the work behind the scenes. So now that we have that, let's send it to our setup dialog box. Now, in order to do that, we need to basically tell our serial port setup dialog class that when we create an object using it, we need it to send a MyData object and we will call that, say, port data. Okay, so now it's requiring, this constructor here is saying you absolutely have to send this data. So go back to the instance, and where we create our dialog box, we have to send it a MyData object, which in this case is MyData. So that object is getting sent to the serial port dialog box. A couple things we will want to do. Right now, this port data object is only accessible within this constructor. So let's make a global object so that we can access it throughout the entire class object. Let's just call this port data. And then what we'll do is, in this constructor, we will set our global object equal to the local object. Okay, now we can access that data throughout wherever we want. And again, the reason we're doing this is so that we can populate the information we have into our combo boxes. Into these combo boxes. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, in order to populate them, right now we have it sending, if you remember by default, port data dot port is set to null, but baud is set to 9600. So we should be able to test it out and see that it actually works. To set the default values, they're called selected items. We just need to set the combo box ports dot selected item equal to our port data dot port name. That is already a string. This selected item is expecting a string. So now we set the baud combo box dot selected item equal to port data dot baud rate, and we need to convert that to a string in order for it to show up. Now if we build this, we should see that that information was sent, and it will populate those combo boxes. Okay, let's open our test bed. Alright, go into our controllers. We click setup, and we see that it is populated automatically. And that's it for right now. Now, the next part, what we'll go into is what we need to do to finish up this setup dialog is get it so that if we change these values, say we set these, then click OK, we needed to write that value back to the module data object. And we'll do that in the next part.